Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. This is the General's Talk featuring Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar and Lieutenant General Satish Dua. Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar, PVSM, AVSM, VSM, a retired Director General of the Artillery. He has deep knowledge and understanding of strategic affairs, now a professor in the Aerospace Department of the IIT Madras, a speaker and an author. Lieutenant General Satish Dua, PVSM, UYSM, SM, VSM, has served as the Chief of Integrated Defence Staff to the Chairman of the Chiefs of Staff Committee, a former Corps Commander 15 Corps, today a speaker and an author of a book, India's Brave Hearts. General Shankar, General Dua, welcome to the General's Talk. As you all know, last couple of days ago, the Pakistanis released something called a National Security Policy. It's quite interesting for the Pakistanis to release a document at a time when they are running through complete chaos. It talks about realignment, it talks about their issues that they are facing internally, externally, and so on and so forth. Having read the document, it's probably not very pointed in terms of the 60 odd pages that have been released towards the public, but it does give us an insight as to what the Pakistanis are thinking. How much they want to do about it is a totally different story. So I'd like both of you to actually comment on this particular document, and of course, a couple of other questions that rise into our mind: why, how, and so on and so forth. So, General Duasa, I'd like to start with you first. The Pakistani Army chief had given a statement some time ago that geo-economics is the way to go. A lot of us commented at that time as well. Happy realization. It's interesting to see that a country whose defense kind of runs on loans now starting to talk about economics. What is your comment, and are they serious enough to do something like this?
Look, if we talk about the new document, there is a section on economics, and very rightly they've identified that economics has a very central role to play in the security of a country, which so far so good. But thereafter, what you said is right. Now the country is in a very bad spot as far as economics is concerned. It is hard. It is finding it difficult to keep its nose above water. But thereafter, it is not going on to suggest any methodology, any way of how to get there. Merely by stating something that economy is central to our security, and then geo-economics is going to get centrality in the new document or the thought, is not going to help. In fact, that's generally the tone of the entire document. It only talks of lofty ideas or concepts, but it does not really bring out something concrete as to how to get about doing this. So, as far as geo-economics is concerned, I mean, everyone knows it's true, but then how do we get there? Are they cutting down on some expenses? Are they going to increase their earnings? For instance, they're not even talking about how to improve the trade with India. One of his somewhere it has great potential, and we stop for different reasons. What do you say, Jan Shankar?
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, I find it funny. This word geo-economics itself is funny because they extend this term geo-economics from their geostrategic location. They say Pakistan was important geostrategically because it is the crossroads of many cultures and movements and ideologies and all that. Now, those don't feed economics, unfortunately. The way where Pakistan is, it's a resource-poor country. On the west, it has Afghanistan with nothing. On the east, it has got India with which it has put itself in a position of having nothing. So, and the north and south is hardly anything. I mean, it's just the water in the south and Himalayas to the north. So there's no geo-economic centrality of Pakistan. So that it constructed itself as something funny. But they've been using it, this thing, but I think they're on the wrong boat. I will leave it at that.
Wrong boat indeed, sir. Probably one with a big hole in it as well.
You have to also understand. Let me throw it in. Yesterday I was reading a portal which said If you hold the Pakistani passport, you are holding the fourth worst passport in the world. You are ranked only about North Korea, Afghanistan, and Syria. Okay, the rest of the countries are all above you. So that is, and a lot of this depends on your economic status. If there's an indicator at all. So where do you think this geo-economics will come to revive this country? Limited that.
That's true, sir. You know, their media has been harping since yesterday that this whole policy talks about no war with India for 100 years, and even there are a few within India who've also just taken it up as a browbeating this thing, and the songs have started. If I may, Aman Ki Asha and all that stuff has started up. When I read the document, I don't see that anywhere. As a matter of fact, they blame India for pretty much every damn thing that is wrong in that country. How do you see these two opposite paradoxes being put across, General Shankar sir?
Well, there's no paradox. That was just a canard which was floated that they'll have a 100-year peace with India. They can't predict a 1-year peace within themselves. Forget about 100-year peace with a country like India. One, but like you rightly pointed out, uh, they have blamed India for almost everything. They have first and foremost, this is the first time they have brought this word Hindutva into the lexicon, which is dangerous for another country to do so, right? And and then they want peace, and then it's a conditional peace, and then they say you have occupied Kashmir. So what have you? So this is just a way of saying. In fact, one of the main focuses of this national security policy document is India. If you see, everything else is nebulous, but whatever is about India is focused. Satish, don't you think so?
Yes, you're right. India looms large in the entire document and thought, and perhaps rightly so. But I have a slightly different take on what you said on this particular point itself. Adi, I think it's a clever ploy from their point of view. They have created a canard. This is not there anywhere in the document, 100 years peace. But then this is information warfare. This is influence ops. They're just trying to influence our minds. And whose minds? It's not India will get taken up by that. It is the Western world.
Western
They
world, yeah.
start talking about. We start talking about something where there is no substance in that. It does not follow through in the document at all. But they've spoken about this. So when they're creating that kind of a myth, they are trying to and then talking about Hindutva, like General Shankar said. Now, when they talk about Hindutva, they are trying to sort of draw parallels with Islamic radicalization, and this is it. I mean, so the point I'm trying to make, this is all information warfare, and we need to treat it as such and refute and rebut it in an appropriate manner.
That obviously needs to be done. So there's no question about it, because as I think I agree with General Shankar that they've been very focused towards India, but the rest of it is like, okay, we'll take it as it comes, sort of a game. And as you also, General Dua, brought out, that Hindutva is something which is important, and they've brought it out to put it in front of the world and play this entire narrative apart. Janadua sir, I'd like to ask you, in the middle of this whole political chaos that the Imran Khan government is going through currently, and if you listen to the observers within Pakistan and the commentators within Pakistan, many are there today. They say that the days are numbered. The establishment has moved away, deals are happening, and so on and so forth. What are they trying to achieve by bringing this out, apart from putting it out in front of the Western world?
Well, for that also, if you just listen to the commentaries within Pakistan since yesterday, ever since this document was promulgated, I heard one of the interviews by Nazim Sethi, which you also had forwarded, and then there is another by Mr. I think his name is Dastgir. He was the ex-defense minister of Pakistan, and for instance, he speaks about the fact that no one else has been taken into confidence. when in the beginning, one of the beginning early sections, first section, I think, where it talks about the security, the policy formulation, they say that how many academicians they've consulted, or how many lawmakers have been consulted, members of the public, think tanks, etc. He says no one has been consulted. Even the lawmakers have not been consulted. So I'm just trying to tell you the voices that we are hearing. We have not analyzed it in great detail, but these are the voices that are emerging from their country as well. Timing. Timing, we know that at the present moment, well, the powers to be in the country are in that country are on thin ice. General Bajwa is heading towards the end of his extension of tenure. I mean, extended tenure. Uh, the Prime Minister himself is on thin ice because everyone, like you said, feels the days are numbered. So, at the end of it, this is the timing. Did the timing only throw it up? I think Ravi Shankar alluded towards it, this thing. That, and I'm sure once we finish talking about the document, I think what we need to talk about in greater detail is why this document and why now. That's the thing. So let's just finish talking about the document and then discuss that, because that should be very
Yeah,
clear.
that is of course
That
the
is
more
the
important thing.
yes.
Well, this document is more of a political survival game for Imran Khan to just follow the thing. You must understand, 2014,
Yeah.
the
Nawaz
Nawaz
Sharif.
Sharif, they started this process.
Yeah.
And when they started this process, what did they want to do? They wanted to, loosen the grip of the Pakistan army on the governance. What happened? Nawaz Sharif was loosened his grip on the government and sent. And Pakistan army tightened its wrestling, and then they brought Imran Khan in and formed this hybrid government, as they call it. Now, this hybrid government is also in the doldrums. Okay, any day it can go, is what Pakistanis say. One of their own guys, Parvez Katak, who is a PTI character, has gone against this in the parliament. So they're in this thing. Now, this document refers to that document or that effort,
Yeah.
right? The aim of that was different. The aim of this is very different. This seems to be to consolidate power, not to loosen the grip of army. Yeah, Satish, we can talk of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think both were to consolidate somebody's grip over the power.
Yeah, grip.
That time the politician wanted to do it and sort of not sideline, but maybe marginalize or whittle down the army's importance. It obviously didn't take place. And now the other way around aspect is being sought. So the fact of the matter is, by having this document, because this document clearly states upfront that it has the approval of the military, almost in so many words. So the military is on board, and that also seals the fact that nothing in the country can move without the approval of military, and that is how the document is out, and that's why it did not happen in 2014. It also sort of it establishes the primacy of the Pakistan military, the Pakistan army, despite its being in economic doldrums, despite it being short of cash, despite its ratios, but the hold of the military remains strong. What happens to General Bajwa, what happens to Prime Minister Imran Khan remains to be seen, though.
Let me add on to what Jandua said. You see, how does it get the grip on the government, or rather on Pakistan? Government is irrelevant. Government will keep changing. The military will keep changing the government. How does it tighten its grip on the country? Pakistan is going through a tough time. Its economic recovery is not going to go easy, right? There will be pressure on from all angles to reduce defense budgets, cut the military. Everything is going to happen. Now, if the military doesn't have something to say, look, you cannot afford to do that, right? The military is going to buy it. And that's something which no military, whether it's Bajwa or his, successor, will accept. Yeah. So to a large extent, this is not in the public, part of this document, but I'm sure the classified part of the document, the first thing will be that the primacy of military security will be reinforced. Why? Because it is the military security and the security which the military gives to the country, which sustains the country. If that goes, the security of Pakistan goes. That would be the logic there, and hence the primacy, and hence there will be a minimum level beyond which it cannot be ignored. That means mullah going to Pakistan. I mean the Pakistan army, ever funded. It doesn't matter where Pakistan economy goes. This is the bottom line they have drawn for themselves in this document, and this is not for now. This is going to happen for the next, for generation, at least 5 to 6 years. The tendency of this document is 5 years. So every time someone says cut the thing down, they'll say, oh, here is the thing which says this is how it is. And now this is approved by a civilian, made by a civilian, made to look like. The army chief was also not there during this inauguration process. So the distance is maintained, but yet it is theirs. See, that's the way they play the game. That's the way they played the game, with India, giving a particular message but doing something else. There's the same thing here also. Yeah, Satish.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think let's take the document and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah,
please, as a matter of fact, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. They mention a lot in the document. All of it requires money, and here is a country that is running on chanda, literally. They're running around for every $1 billion here and there, and chanda from China. We just saw the J-10s coming into China as well, and it's an open rumor that the Chinese have given it to them for free, apart from the naval ships as well. What they're going to extort from them is a pound of flesh, which we will see in time to come. But I'd like you to kind of break down this particular document, the language which is written in it, and what are they hinting at today, sir? General Shankar, would you like to start, sir?
See, let's look at it from a slightly different perspective. We know that Pakistan's economy is short. There's no doubt about it. Let's look at the document and the content from a different perspective. The document at the very beginning says, it talks of traditional threats and the non-traditional security threats. And it says we should move away from the traditional, that is a military, territorial integrity, diplomacy kind of threats, to non-traditional, which is economics and human security, X, Y, Z. So that the common man and the citizen is empowered, and he you can reach out to him. And that's what is there in the Prime Minister's message, in the opening message in this document. Okay. Human security is the topmost thing, because let's face it, people make a nation. Okay. Unless the people are secure, the nation is not secure. So the first thing is human security. Human security issues in Pakistan are all existential threats. What are the existential threats in Pakistan today? Agriculture, which is going down the drain, water or lack of it, desertification, climate change, pollution, right? Economics and all come later. Now, if you see the contents page, human security comes the last. So I leave it at that. So what human security are talking of? You don't have economics, you don't have human security. All you have managed to focus is on India. Yeah,
yeah, true. In this document, what I see is while they talk about economic diplomacy and primacy to geo-economics, but essentially, what are they? It's all about India bashing. Especially the chapter on India, or the section on India is very large. For unresolved issues of Kashmir dispute, it talks about India's hegemonic designs, or talking of Article 370 in August 19, illegal actions of the Indian army in J&K, reaffirmed their support to the people of J&K. Uh, Hindutva, we've already spoken about. Uh, they talk about threats of by the Indian leadership. Threats by the Indian leadership of military action against Pakistan. But they affirm their belief in resolving issues through dialogue. Now, when they say they want to resolve issues through dialogue, but what? I mean, but they're not moving towards it. They're not uh, laying out a path as to what are they opening up trade with India. They're not. So the thing is, certain things
Everything is
that
conditional. What you're saying is everything is conditional. Conditional to resolving the J&K problem.
So here is a document which, to my mind, is lofty on words and concepts, but very low on substance. So, and I don't know what the classified part will hold.
You know, I heard that interview which you're talking about with Najam Sethi. Najam Sethi says this document could have been written by any reasonable PhD scholar, or
Undergraduate scholars.
anyone. Or he says you look at any election manifesto, it sounds the same. I'll take it one step further. You give it to any guy who's doing the junior command course, he'll come out with it. Like a JC solution, sand model solution type, aa jayega. So there's nothing very great about this document. But if you read here,
let me try and look for some good bright spots. I'm going to give you a couple of plus points of this document. One plus point, I think, that it will seek to obfuscate the impression that it makes on the Western world. Like we mentioned in the passing, talking about 100 years peace. For those who are not well informed, this document says what India is doing. Okay, so this document gives their point of view. And the second point I would say, India does not have a document, an apex level guidance document, white paper, or a national security policy, etc. Whatever call it, whatever name. So they have a document which says we want to resolve, we want to do this, but India is doing this. India is using its intelligence agencies to foment trouble. India is cause of all the ills. So I am just trying to look at these are the couple of things that they will hope to achieve by this national security policy.
and that's something fine. That's part of what shall I say, information ops, perception ops, etc., which is Pakistan's right to do so. Look, every nation will do it. Okay, but the one major point I'll reiterate is that it cements Pakistani army's place in society, in its economic hierarchy, or in its hierarchy to get resources of the state. It becomes indisputable. There's a the role of the Pakistani army is not in their constitution. So far, it is something else. If you see, the Pakistani army is today spoken of as the establishment, no more as the Pakistani army. It's called the establishment by all their commentators. Okay, everyone talks of establishment.
Military industrial complex.
Everything. No, it's called establishment. Everyone says, "Oh, establishment." Hai.
Yeah.
This establishment is now sanctified by this by the classified part. I'm sure it is there. I don't have to think. I mean, knowing how this army has behaved, this is what it will be there, right? So, otherwise, I don't see anything great in this document. We give another 10 days. I mean, why give another 10 days? In 24 hours, after this was put out yesterday, around this time in the evening, okay, today, 24 hours later, this is no more a headline. It has gone down 5-6 columns. Okay, so they themselves don't take it seriously. Why are we taking it seriously?
That's true, sir. Just to close up, Shankar and Chandua, I'd like to, just throw you a little bit of a spinner and then, ask you to kind of close the discussion with that. Starting with you, Jandua, one of the things that we notice is the April 5th deadline, which is going to come up, and I'm sure you understand where I'm hinting at. And of course, the negotiations with the other party, which is there, which is sitting in London today, Nawaz Sharif's camp, and a lot many say that that's the next man in power. Is this also another way, as General Shankar is mentioning, to ensure that Nawaz Sharif clearly understands that, boss, these are the boundaries, this is where the deal will happen, and that is just about it. You are another person who's going to sit on the job, do what we're telling you to do, period. And it's also the next guy who's going to come in General Bajwa's position, trying to cement his establishment into the game.
So you are right. This document perhaps serves a couple of such purposes. Like I mentioned, it serves to as an information campaign for the Western world. It also serves, like you said, to seal the position, like we discussed, to seal the primacy of the army in a document form, like General Shankar said, that it actually sort of says that now the civilian, the government has by themselves decreed that this is the role of the military. It's perhaps serves the purpose of what you're saying, of making it clear for any present or future leadership, the political leadership, as to where the real power balance lies. So, if this is the purpose it hopes to serve, but does it also serve the purpose that a national security document by any name is supposed to serve?
Well,
Yeah.
let's not talk of national security, because they're very clear. National security, I mean, they're, let me put it this way, I'll throw a few red herrings. Sometime back, I read that this document was being approved by the army in one of their newspapers, right? And it was not in consultation and all. Probably they have given a large part of the draft to this gentleman to write. There's also some rumor that General Bajwa is looking for another extension. Right? That's also in the air. There's a whole lot of political uncertainty. They don't know who's going to come. This fellow, Imran Khan is a failed experiment. They have to limp along with him, but they have to humor him, because if he's in power, he's the one who has to decide who will be the next army chief. After all, that's the funny game they play. It's a catch-22 situation, but that's how it is. Okay. But then he's the weakest of the lot. They say, establishment. I remember reading one article where it said establishment is E. E is equal to P1 plus P2 plus P3. That is, P1 is one party, P2 is the second party, and P3 is the third party. Okay, alluding to their three main parties. So the political equation in Pakistan has always been E plus P1 or 2 or 3 should be greater than P2, other two. So whichever party the establishment backs, right, will push the other two out. Now the choice is whether it is Bilawal Bhutto or Nawaz Sharif. If Nawaz Sharif has to come back, they're making conditions for him for that April 5th deadline and all that, so that he comes back conditionally. And if the whole thing goes in a tailspin, they have this document to say the army is prime. The security of the nation is prime. Because if there's a chaos, then they can step in some other form. So this has got a deeper game. This document has just not come. I mean, we should understand Pakistan is good at these deep games. After all, they're not fools to have really thrown the US out of Afghanistan and put Taliban in power. It is not a foolish Pakistan which is now milking China. Chinese will come to know 10 years later, after they milked and their economy is also short. And they'll also be facing the same problem as USA is facing, that Pakistan has taken them for a ride. This is a deep game, right? So we shouldn't just throw it out because the unclassified part is showing nothing. It's all unattainable is also known. That's my take.
I think Najam Shetty should listen to your comments. He'll probably use more adjectives.
Well, that's his choice. I don't think our video will get anywhere near him. But
So that's something interesting, that here is a country now basically which has a prime minister that selects the army chief and an army chief that selects the prime minister in terms.
that's, I mean, isn't that happened, Satish?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the nature of the beast now.
That's the nature of the beast which has existed. After all, Zia was selected by whom? And whom did Zia select? Who executed whom? Bhutto selected Zia and Zia executed Bhutto. It's the story which goes on and on and on again there.
And with this document, the story never ends.
And look at Pervez Musharraf. Same thing.
Interesting, sir. I think it's always a cheery, it's a bright outlook looking at Pakistan in the midst of this chaos that China created, and it's coming back to us for a third wave. But it's always interesting to look at our Western friend and see the antics that it is up to. It's always full of surprises, if I may put it that way, for a country which has no economic clout, no diplomatic clout, and no particular standing whatsoever with regards any strong existence in this particular world, apart from its having nuclear weapons and a whole lot of non-state actors that it controls. General Shankar sir and General Dua, thank you so much for joining me to decipher this document as to what its purpose is, why did it do something like this, and of course, the question how are they going to do it is something I don't think even the Pakistanis would understand. Thank you so much, and till next time, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Jai Hind.